Hi everyone, Susie here from Minnesota, and I garden in a zone 4, and I am taking you on a tour today of my gardens. It is the middle of July. They are talking storms possibly tonight. I say possibly because we have not had a lot of rain, maybe 2 inches since May. The Bobo Hydrangeas are looking fantastic. Absolutely love them. I had to use some twine to hold that one up. It did flop a little bit when we got that rain. But I am loving that pop of color here. It just brightens up this area. I've backed off the watering on a lot of these plants. I only water if I see them struggling. The lamium is filling out better than what I expected it to, except for the ones over here, which I am a little worried about this hydrangea because I think this shrub here is going to be some competition over here. And this is all newly planted. I can see some lamium is going to town. It's throwing off some blooms here and there. Just a hardy geranium. The Palace Purple Heuchera is doing really good. Very happy with this. There will be some changes to this area. I love the foxglove, it's just not here. The lady's mantle is filling in nicely. They are a little close. These were just seeds I started early in the season, and I know I'm going to have to thin them at some point, but I'll worry about that next year. Sun King Aralias I'm in love with here. It's definitely been quite the gardening season this year, hasn't it? Very different. Last year we were dry too, but this year it just came a little bit sooner than last year. Paprika Heuchera is bouncing back after some rabbit damage. And my hostas, some seem to be struggling a little bit more than others. This area here has very good drainage, very dry. Not the best situation for hostas. But in Minnesota, we've never had a problem with moisture. It's a very wet climate. I don't have anything set up on drip. The coleus is hanging in there. I have not watered this area for a long time. Solomon's seal still looks really good. Love that perennial. And truth be told about the foxglove, I don't have any more room in my gardens for a lot, especially in my sun garden. My shade ones I do, but they just don't do the best in shade. So when they're removed, and I don't have too many friends and family who are perennial gardeners. They are more container gardening with annuals. So they definitely will not be interested in that. That Hosta flower is really pretty. But they were seeds I started, so I don't feel too bad. Oh, this looks a little droopy. I'm going to have to water that. But not too bad for the ostrich ferns. And yes, I know they're invasive, but I do struggle with growing ferns. Because these foxglove here too, they're in kind of a dappled sun situation, but I'm not seeing any blooms. So honestly, they look healthy, but maybe at the end of the season I'm just gonna pull them out. Eventually this hosta here will fill in this area, along with the goat spirit here will fill it in. This is just all new this year. Oh, there's a slight breeze. Feels so good. It's supposed to be high 90s today. The humidity is unbelievable. It's when you walk outside and instantly you're clammy. Actually, is very hazy. The air quality is not great. The Arctic blue or dwarf blue Arctic willow is doing really good. This Brenera over here, this could use a shot of water. I might do that. I really like Brenera. And this is just one plant with a goat spirit, and that's how big it's going to get. I mean, it's massive. I do not trim the spent flower heads. I like it a lot, a little too much. I just love how I don't know, there's just something, just love it. Seven Substance is looking great, throwing off some big flower spikes. You can see my bleeding heart back here is turning yellow, and that is perfectly normal. That happens this time in the summer, especially with the lack of moisture. I think if we would have had the rain, it probably would have stayed green, because this area is pretty wet. I have not been watering that coleus, and it just is doing really good. I'm very happy. I have seen some earwigs, so not many. And no slug damage to any hosta, so positive on not a lot of rain. The sweet woodruff ground cover is amazing. Along with the ajuga. It started off with just a little tiny clump, and this year has done all of this. But I like ground covers because it helps keep the weeds down. Normally, like these hostas here, they would be the first ones to succumb to slug damage. The ones that are a little thicker leaf and more ribbed, if you want to say, are not quite so prone to it, but oh, these poor babies. I don't know, those hostas. But it's kind of also I'm not going to say fun, but it's why I keep gardening. Because if gardening was easy, you know, not a lot of work involved, I don't know, would you keep doing it? because I do struggle with ferns. I'll show you my stilbies. And then there's plants that, because if they don't work for me, I try something else and I fall in love with them. And it gives me a reason to plant other stuff if other things fail, right? Like the Muckgenia here, I think it's a horrible name to tell you the truth. Is struggling too. I planted this last year in the fall because it should give the leaf should turn kind of a reddish color in the fall for that little pop of color, but I should give them a shot of water. But this is stilby here, and I struggle with the stilbies too. I love goat's beard because, and that seems to be working for me, but look how short that flower spike is. I know we've been dry, but I have also been watering my stilbies. So this should be a tall variety, maybe in a fairy garden. I love that color though. You gotta love Humpback Whale Hosta. That was even impressive in its 3rd year. Which sometimes with the extra large hostas, it can take a bit for them to look really good. These are twigs I removed from where I had my peas. I was using that to stake them, and right now we can't have any fire pits, no burning. This Akana coal grass is doing really good. I think it's called All Gold. And this one looks like it's reverting. And it's going back to just all green. And that'd be fine. I struggle with that grass too. But in other gardens, it's absolutely beautiful. Sometimes when I'm looking out from my kitchen window, when I see it, it's kind of like, I love how this container looks with the hosta blooms in back. Kind of looks like it's part of that container. I will be trimming up my lady's mantle, Alchemilla mollis, at some point. And the pulmonaria looks really good. I did end up having to water this also because it was really struggling. Giant fleece flower. I leave whatever heads are left on them. The Persicaria Painter's Palette looks amazing. I love how every leaf just kind of looks different. This is more variegated. I really like that. The daylilies here, I will be just getting rid of. Like I said, I don't have any more room in my gardens, and at this point, I'm not going to be expanding. Every other year, or every 2-3 years, I expand only if I feel like I can keep up. Because once I am overwhelmed with gardening, and I don't ever want to be, because that's the reason why I garden, is to relieve stress. So it's just to see how much more I can, do. So far it's going good. Look at this. Isn't that amazing? This is Bridal Falls Hosta. That coloring is gorgeous. Bee balm is still looking okay. Some of it's going over, but I will leave the seed heads. I think they're really neat. Little round balls. Oh, will you focus? Especially that one, and let's zoom out here. I think this is a perennial sunflower. I'm not sure. This was also a native flower. But behind it is also native. I had cut this one back by about half early June, and it's late figwort. To me, it's kind of a see-through plant, but it usually got so tall last year that to me it was a little bit of an eyesore, but you can see it's probably about 6 feet tall. But I didn't want it to block the view of the clematis, which is so pretty. This rose is going through its second bloom cycle, which is really nice. I like this color. Yeah, the bee activity in my gardens have been unbelievable. I don't know if it's just because it's been so dry, but I love that orange color with this blue down here. And this is just lobelia. I planted this here, and it's doing really good. To see if it would kind of cascade over here. This is a fish planter, but it's kind of hard to tell now. But that pop of blue is absolutely gorgeous. Oh, those cicadas are a bit intense. I don't know the name of this daylily, but it is probably one of my favorites. And look at that. I wish they were all blooming. I'll have to do just a little tour of the daylilies all in bloom. Look at that one. It's little, so I still like this one a lot better. I did mow the other day, like what, 2 weeks ago? But this was all in the ground and I chopped it off with it, so that's one way of cutting it back, right? This one is going bananas. That's a little weird, don't you think? I think it's just that it's been the season, and I'm not going to complain about the gardening season because, you know, we're all experiencing a lot right now. This one is, like I said, there's just something about that, just unbelievable. I'm so happy our little bird friend joined the tour. I didn't know that dianthus keeps blooming. Look at that. That was a nice little sight to see this morning. The Scabiosa is putting out another, I had deadheaded it, so seemed to really benefit it. I have not watered this area, I would say, for, well, at least 2 weeks. And the columbine, can you believe it's still blooming? I should cut my foxglove. They're getting close to the end and they're getting a little tall. But the bees are still loving it. My lamb's ear has just kind of taken over everything. So this is an echinacea back here. I don't know the variety. It is definitely a shorter one. I had planted 4 in this garden, and this is the 4 or 5. This is the last one to survive. This tall garden phlox back here. It's really, it's going over a little quick too. I have to. I look down and I just lose myself in my garden whenever I can just stare at, oops, one second. All the pollinators and butterflies, they're so neat. But so that tall garden phlox back there is this one right here. I love how the ornamental alliums, all of their little heads are drooping until they are ready to bloom. It's kind of cute. I gave the yarrow, a lot of it, just a trim. It's doing pretty good. Ooh, look at that foxglove back there. Oops, this is that deep color. Oh, and looks like there's kind of looks yellow, doesn't it? Very pretty. White Wands Veronica went over really quick. I'm gonna shear that back at some point. Hopefully get another flush of blooms later. The Hardy Geranium Midnight Ghost, I think it's doing really good. I'm actually liking it. It's kind of keeping its form. I had a Nicotiana soft seed. I'm leaving it. I love Nicotiana, but it's going to bloom at some point. This lily here, I don't know the variety, but I will show you the tag that was in it. I do not think that's it. Because it says the height is, and that's why I put it there, because it says it gets 16 to 18 inches tall. I don't think that's correct. But it is pretty, so it's going to stay there. The scent is amazing. It's an oriental lily. I love this. I know it's a bit messy looking, but I just like looking through the verbena. I don't know. It is really neat. And then this, a daylily here. I mean, just gorgeous. When you do deadhead them, be careful because that does stain your fingers. But if the blooms get on like the next one, oh, okay, go away. It kind of coats it, so that's why I have to be on top of that. And that variety is this. I'm gonna go to the back real quick. Just wanted to show you my sweet peas here. This is Edward of York. I saved these seeds from last year. It is a shorter stem sweet pea, so if you want it for arrangements, I don't know. It is prolific, but I know there were aphids on it too. I haven't done anything for the aphids. I'm just kind of leaving it as my sacrificial plant and hopefully bringing in the predators. Still doing okay. I've been deadheading. But it's a shorter variety too, so you don't need a really tall support for, at least in my experience and last year too. So this works out really good. I do have another foxglove back here. So these are next to my compost bins, and you can definitely see the foliage on these are unbelievable, very lush. But so far it seems like they're all just kind of that purple color. After this I need to do some watering of my containers. Still lots of blooms on the clematis. Oh, got dive bombed by a hummingbird. I do have some Joe Pye weed that made it, because I have this poor shrub back here. It's kind of being eaten by the Joe Pye, but I'm just kind of letting it do what it wants to do. The Philippendula, Queen of the Prairie, is doing okay. It has seen better days. Just glad to see a few blooms there. Honeysuckle is just that little pop of color. And I've never had to help twine it. It just does it on its own. If I can get in here without bugging the bees. Can you see how woody that is? But yeah, it does climb on its own, so that needs very little help from me except for cutting back, which I have not done yet. This is always a fun area to get through, but I like it. Dahlias are doing really good so far over here. Oh, just a teeny tiny little bloom. I'm gonna have to, I kept the tig. I'm gonna see if that matches this bloom color. Just watered the zinnias last night. I think I've been watering them about once every 2 weeks, depending on the moisture. I still have my hose out, and I leave it out until I don't need it anymore, which will probably be, I don't know, winter. But they just look amazing. This might be an eyesore to some people. It is to me every now and then, because I know when I'm watering, my hose kind of tramples over it. But these are all soft-seeded cleome. And I'm leaving it because I'm hoping they do bloom for me. And this one should. It looks like a really healthy plant. Do I dare show you? So the back of these beds, they're a bit of a mess. And I leave them because there's a lot of self-seeded plants back here. Oh, go away. Like, these are all cleome along with weeds. And look, this one's blooming. I could not get those to germinate for me when I had started my seeds, but yet, I mean, and I had probably thousands that self-seed, and then I have Nicotiana back here. So yes, it's a bit of an eyesore, but for a little bit of color, especially that I have had no part in helping that get established. And then I also have Gomphrena down here, and I'm leaving it. There is something to be said about the single petal varieties. These bees just unbelievable. And this is also another tall garden phlox, a David. I think it should be a bit taller, but because we've been so dry, things have been a little bit shorter, which is, you know, nice because it doesn't require a lot of staking. The roses here, I didn't deadhead any of them because they're just putting out lots of new growth. So I'm just kind of letting it do. The fact that I pruned it probably to just a foot from the ground, and it's put on all of this growth, that's amazing. I was going to see if I could see it. It's hot out here. I'm worried about my camera overheating. Do you know, okay, if I can do this without, do you know what kind of bug this is? Is it a bad bug or... Can you see that? Or should I leave it? I hate squishing bugs without knowing if they're good bugs or bad bugs. And this Veronica, holy cow, this has just been blooming throughout the entire season, and the pollinators love it. It's just been an amazing plant. It's just... I say that every year, but I'm really enjoying my garden this year. There's just something about it that all of the wildlife and pollinators and whatnot are loving. This is just, I bought this from a greenhouse, Ami Magus. I think it's green mist. This Adalia, they're all kind of wilting. Like I said, it's really hot. But there is a flower head on this one. I can't wait. We'll see if they're worth it, because honestly, if they're worth it, fantastic. I'm going to treat it like an annual. They don't overwinter in my garden and my zone, and I have nowhere to put them if I dig them up. Look, a self-seeded Nicotiana, and it's blooming. But this happened with this one. So we'll see. Because right now I'm really loving the zinnias. They are super cheap and easy to grow. And this rhubarb, I still have to comment on this. I'm just amazed by how good this is doing. Better get a move on. I feel like this tour is getting to be a little long. But look at my climbing William Baffin Rose. Look how tall, I'm like staring right at the sun. So happy, and it's gonna be blooming again. And I love this area. Actually, I can kind of say there's really, I love every area in my garden for different reasons. I mean, this is just spectacular. I'm just gonna, when I come walking back this way with my dog, this is just a spectacular sight. I just love it. These hydrangeas are super easy for me. They're all paniculatas. This one was the first to bloom. These have been here for 7 years. I mean, this shrub is massive. This is Little Lime Hydrangea. If I would have thought a little bit more, I probably would have gone with lime or Little Limelight. I would have gone with just Limelight because this is a little short. The only thing I did in the springtime was I just cut off the flower heads. But you can still see it's definitely a lot shorter than the other ones. But I still like it, and you know what? It's got blooms. I really thought I was going to lose this shrub because down here you can see that died off. So I was a little concerned. Oh, isn't that glorious? I wish I had more garden space to plant more hydrangeas and have different varieties. I would still always do the paniculata, because in my zone, I have such hard winters for the most part. And at least with the paniculatas, they bloom on new wood. Look at this. So I have Little Limelight, Pinky Winky, possibly. And I have Vanilla Strawberry. And this one is just starting. Isn't that going to be glorious? And is there a first edition's Strawberry Sundae? But yeah, oh, I love walking up this way. And I love my containers. Look at this one. That is just, oh. Crunching on the leaves. My trees are dropping their leaves, which is very early. They're definitely stressed out for sure. Love this. It's like an entrance to my secret garden. These are just where I put my house plants. And I just wanted to show you also, if you have been following me, last year I had taken some hydrangea cuttings, and these are 4 that made it through my winter. And aren't they looking fantastic? I mean, they're not super big, but I think they're doing really good. I'm very happy with that. And this is just such a happy sight too, with those sunflowers poking out with the grasses. Hopefully you've seen some bug activity, pollinator. That's just, like I said, I don't think it picks up very well on the camera here, but oh, There's times I just walk and they're all around me. And I am going to let the columbine go to seed and then just hopefully self-seed all over the place, because honestly, I can't say enough about this variety. Let's see, kind of, yeah. They're on this too. And my approach to dealing with bugs this year, I haven't done anything. Because you can't have the good bugs without the bad bugs, right? So that sweet pea back there, I'm letting the aphids be on it. If I have my hose back there, I'll just give it a shot of water to kind of get them off, but I have not been using anything. Because, I mean, my gardens are just for me. It's not like I'm using these for cut flowers as far as, you know, supplying my local flower shop. If this was a business, then yes, I would probably be a little more proactive with like spraying for bugs. So hopefully you enjoyed this. And it's still here. Look at this. I'm not really good at knowing the types of butterflies. I know my monarchs and the yellow swallowtails, but I don't know this one. But it is surely loving that gomphrena. Alright. So hopefully you enjoyed this lengthy garden tour. And bye for now.